Howdy folks, Tex here. Welcome to Southern Belle Bigfoot. Let me introduce y'all to a great friend of mine, Celena.
Hey y'all, I'm Celena. I started this channel because I had my own encounter, and I know what it's like to be ridiculed and unable to share my experiences. I want to give everyone a safe haven to share their encounters with these magnificent beings. I love to hear yours as well. Please email them to me at cwlenagarrett@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support me in my journey to the truth, my Cash App is $Celena Bigfoot, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Hey.
Hey, Tex, how are you?
I am peachy. How are you?
Same. I am the same. I am so blessed I can't stop smiling. I'm serious.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
knew
so
you was excited
proud of
about
you.
this.
I meant to tell you last night's show. It started off, I was really nervous because it was my first, in my opinion, by Celena or with Celena episode. But it started off, I was a little nervous. And then, of course, as it went on, the chat, of course, made me feel more and more comfortable. And everybody was wonderful. And I went right over my 800 mark. So I've just now shot over my 800 mark. So thank you, everybody.
Well, I know you're excited about this one for sure.
Oh, I am. Oh, my goodness. You know, with such respect for this man. Let's bring him out. Ron
Let's do
Morehead,
it.
everybody.
Let's see if I can find the right buttons to push here. We'll be all right.
There
There's
we are.
Ron's button. I always
Hey.
find Ron's button to push.
You push my button.
There
How are you
go.
guys? How are you guys this evening? Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. I just always thought he was so well spoken. And I have watched many of your interviews and documentaries, and even The Proof Is Out There, you know, things like that. And I said, he's just captivates you with the way he speaks, you know.
Oh, well,
His
shucks.
voice and you know, and then you have all this knowledge to go with it. So I was so
Well,
excited
thank you.
to
Yeah,
have
been
you.
going on for over 50 years with me. So
You've got lots of experience. Well, I was going to ask you, Ron, to get started, if you don't mind, can you tell a little bit about yourself and then lead into if you believed in this creature even before the Sierra Sounds even happened, that episode even happened?
Well, I remember when I was a young man in Northern California, and the newspapers came out with this Bluff Creek thing, you know, and it's about all I thought of it. They said it was a big Indian lost in the woods or something, I think, something like that, and that's all I knew. But when 1971 came along, and the Johnson brothers went up to this camp in the Sierra Nevada mountains up in California there, and they came back with a story. They're hunters. They've been going there since 1958. And they said there's some kind of a monster up there. We heard it, and we need to go back, but they didn't want to go back alone. So they took the other guys in the group, which was 5 of them all together at that time. I wasn't part of the group, but I was friends with them all. So one of the guys went up there. Well, they all went up back up and took tape recorders this time and a little cassette. That's all we had back then that you could barely pack. And one of the guys heard it, and he's very religious. We all went to church, and it was all, you know, religious, and we're all spiritual whether we like it or not, but we don't have to be religious. We don't want to be. And but he got scared off. He just he was trembling, and he left notice. I'm out of here the next morning. He left so the light would let him. Have you heard these things? He came back and told the wives that what the Johnson brothers were saying was true, that there's some kind of monster up there, and he was just shaking, I guess. And the wife said, well, you got to go back, and because the guys were a day late coming out, you got to go back and see if they're okay, because they didn't know what they were dealing with at the time. We're 8 miles in the wilderness, and it's 8,400 feet elevation in the Sierra Nevada mountains. So really easy. I'm not going back by myself, and he asked me to go with him to watch his back, I guess, as if I could do something about these things. Anyway, I wanted to help if I could, and I wanted to be part of that group, so I went back up there with him. The guys were okay. They just had some work going on the night before, so they stayed another day. So anyway, we came out, and I started going back as often as I could when I get someone to go with me, and that's how it started with me. And I started taking recorders. We all started taking recorders up there. It wasn't until 1972, the winter of 71, when you get snowed out of the Sierras, you can't go up there anymore. Warren Johnson contacted a guy named Ivan Sanderson, who's a cryptozoologist, and he thought the 23-page letter that Warren wrote was probably by pulling his leg or something. But he sent it off to Peter Byrne, who was in Oregon at the time. And Peter thought the same thing. Because I didn't know this till later on when I read the correspondence, Peter, thinking the same thing, contacted Alan Berry, who was in Redding, California, working for a newspaper. He was an investigative reporter. And if you want to go down and see if there's anything to this, you can, because you're closer than I am anyway. And so he did. He came down and interviewed us, and he got caught up in it. Asked if he could. Excuse me, sorry. No, excuse me, I drank too much.
Bless you.
And so Alan came down and talked to us and interviewed us and heard the sounds that had been recorded up to that date. And he said he'd like to go in. And of course, I didn't know. We all thought he was just interested in the subject matter. We didn't realize he was really going to try to find one of us tricking him or something. And anyway, he went in and he got captivated by it because he couldn't figure out how something so far in the wilderness and such a remote area, in a very imposing area to get to, I could be doing something like that. And he started recording himself, and he's actually fostered the study at the University of Wyoming on the sounds. And it was 1972 when he recorded them. And he found a Dr. Arlen Curlin at the University of Wyoming to study them for a year. He's a sound engineer, and he wrote a paper on it. He said this is very unique. He says it's inside, outside, below, and above the average human range. And he shows a graph in his paper where the little sound bites came into there. It shows where the human vocal tract average is and where these things were landing all over, up and down. And we don't know what the scope is of their actual ability to different frequencies. He said one of the bits that he checked out represented an animal 8 foot tall compared to the human vocal tract. And anyway, he did a thorough job. So there's no manipulation in these. It's the original. It's no 60-second line. They were not speeded up. They were not slowed down. And he said it's really interesting stuff. So he gave his report at the Anthropology of the Unknown in British Columbia, 1976, I think, or 78. So and anyway, that was full of academians, and they just didn't. As high profile as he is, I mean, he's got references up to King. He's written over 200 papers. He's really a forensic analyst, and they just couldn't understand how something like this could be because only humans are supposed to be able to talk, And
right.
That was affirmed by Dr. Lieberman at Brown University. He says only humans have the vocal mechanism, or the hyoid bone with the connected tongue and nervous system into the brain, so that we can say what we're thinking, what we're seeing. Dolphins, whales, everything communicates, but they don't communicate with spoken language like I'm doing now, like we're doing. And so that tells me that these things must have a human component, because you get the cryptolinguist, Scott Nelson, who tackled these things. He heard them by accident on the BFRO.org website. And he drove all the way up from Missouri, where he was teaching languages there, to interview me and Al Berry and find out the context of the sounds and ask if he could study them. He said, I think I hear language in this. That's what he was trained for. 2-time graduate of the military linguistic, of the name of it, in Monterey, California. But he graduated twice from that school as a cryptolinguist and worked his whole career in the military, listening to unknown sounds, unknown codes to see if there was any craziness going on with them. Or he can't really tell you what they're saying, but he can tell you if it's a language or not. And these things have a language, but they're speaking so rapid, we can't, and they're outside of our range of talking to, and they're stepping on each other during these things that we were recording. Anyway, having a language, and then Dr. Lieberman saying that only humans have that ability tells me there has to be a human component to these things that we were dealing with. I'm not saying they're all the same, because I believe they're not all the same. Not all of them have the same abilities. It depends on what made them start with and what attributes they were given, because DNA has been manipulated from eons ago into different genomes of different species on this planet. So anyway, it's got me into studying, because we was all churchgoers. So I was going to right home, started looking through the Bible and ancient texts, trying to find out where where giants came from, how many giants, and started looking at the giants. Because prior to this, I didn't have any knowledge other than the little bit of stuff I had as a kid up at Bluff Creek. And I say as a kid, a young man, 1967. This started with me when I was 29 up in the Sierras. So I'm in my 80s now, and it's been on me ever since.
I can't believe he's in his 80s because I don't mean to be forward, but Ron, you don't look like you're in your 80s.
Well,
No,
I'm glad I don't look that way. I sure feel that way
oh my
sometimes.
goodness. Well, now that was a shock to me.
Well, I tell people I was 29 when it started with me in 1971, so that puts me in my 80s now. And I'm just fortunate. I've had a lot of experiences and a lot of traveling. I've done a lot of stuff, and I was fortunate in business. I was a businessman then, and the other guys were too. So we're kind of a clean camp. In other words, we weren't up there doing drugs or anything like
Right,
that. It was
right.
a very clean camp, and you had to unload before you came into camp and after out hunting and stuff like that. I started hunting in 1972 after the winter was over. So I bought a gun, got a horse, got it all set up, and
I can't wait to hear this part.
started going up there a lot and as much as I could, and that was quite often really. And we started recording these things, and so did Al Berry. We took him in, and anyway, that's how it started with me, and got me on this trail of researching ancient texts and ancient.
Yes.
Where-
And I can't wait for you to tell us exactly what happened the night that you caught these famous Sierra sounds.
Well, let's back up a minute, Ron.
Yeah. Okay.
What was your initial reaction when you heard them for the first time?
Well, I think I knew they hadn't eaten the other guys, hadn't carried away in their sleeping bags. Everybody was. So I had my gun. We all had high-powered guns. It's something you don't know what you're dealing with, so you don't know what's going to happen. It can crush you in after you or what. So I felt a little secure with a gun and all that stuff, and all the other guys had guns too. So the other guys, one of them never came back. He left me back. But he just anyway. My initial feeling was I'm okay. Whether I live or die, I'm okay. Even then, I'm a Christian. I feel like I'm okay. We're just in a body, and we're energy. I found out I can't die. Right. If you're a religious person, you think you're going to go to heaven or something. Someone's going to leave you. It's your consciousness. Right. You're who you really are. And I felt that way then, even though you can't help but be a little bit nervous, maybe. I felt like at 29 years old, I couldn't be destroyed no matter what.
Right. 10 foot tall and bulletproof. I get it.
Yeah. And anyway, my initial reaction was, wow, just wow. And we just all sit there, with our guns ready to go. And, but they didn't come in after us. And, of course, we didn't shoot at them. We weren't going to do that. And I think they kind of knew that. I'm not sure, but we underestimated what they were at the time. We thought they were just an ape in the woods. Thought that for a long time. And that's what a lot of researchers are looking for now, the ape in the woods. Yeah. Because that's what they look like, a long-legged ape. And they're heavy. They're really heavy. They leave tracks where no one else can and stuff like that. So they just enigmas. With the strange stuff started happening to us up there, things we couldn't answer with classical science. And Al Berry, after he experienced a few things, he said, "Don't talk about the strange stuff up here, or you won't be talking to anybody anywhere, but stick with science and stick with." So for a long time, I thought, well, how does science work into this? Because it doesn't fit with Newtonian physics at all, but it fits with quantum physics. So I got into quantum physics to answer the enigmas associated with the lights factored here today and gone tomorrow, how they could see in front of you almost, outthink you. I should say, they seemed like they did, because every time we try something, we could never get a picture. We captured their sounds, but we never could get a picture. And we tried, and it just wasn't working out. It's like they knew where the thread was that's going to trigger that camera, Anyway, we lost, I think, 3 cameras up there. They batted off the trees. And we tried infrared. We tried all kinds of stuff. But what we captured was unique. And I had no idea then that it would become what it is today. but it's led me into a whole new world and whole new experiences of all things, and it just makes me curious even today. Just I think I got some of the pieces of the puzzle put together though. So I'm one of the old timers. The graybacks I call myself.
Well, I don't know what Texas is to say, but I do know one phone call that I can't tell you how many times I've listened to the 911.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
How,
I interviewed the guy.
oh
Yeah.
my Lord. When I heard that or seen that you had went over there and spoke with the man himself,
Mm-hmm.
and this was a level-headed person,
Yeah,
and
it was.
he was trying not to sound crazy to the 911 operator,
Mm-hmm.
but he was trying to say there's something very large in my yard. Can you
Yeah.
tell everybody about that 911 call, please, and how
Yeah.
you?
Interesting how that's become. I talked about that for probably 20 minutes this morning, but it's not a long story, so I won't make it 20 minutes long. But yeah, I went over there with Peter Byrne, and he met with me, and we went over to talk to this guy. It's on the Olympic Peninsula. Actually, it's on the Kitsap Peninsula, which is just east of Olympic Mountains there. And he was working in his shop out in the garage, and he has these windows in his garage door, and the sensor light came on out front. And that's when he saw the thing. And of course, 2 weeks prior to that, something was messing with him out there. He didn't know what it was, but it scared him, scared his dogs. And he lost his dog. He heard a big thunk, and his dog went sailing over the fence. And we measured it, and it was 35 feet. This big shepherd was thrown. So I started looking around and see if there was any horses around that could kick something like that far. You look for everything you can to try to find
Yes,
the way
debunk
to
it. Yeah.
debunk it. But he's not debunkable. Plus his story, we picked up those tapes from the sheriff's department, and I edited them out and put them on my second CD. So it's become pretty unique, and a lot of people play them now.
I repeatedly played it because I thought, what would you do if you're in his shoes? Would you have put it just the way he put it? Or would you have been brave enough to come on out and say, there's this large, hairy creature?
He knew if he said something like that, they probably wouldn't pay attention to
Well,
him.
that's what I mean. Like,
Yeah. So he said, he's just big. He's like 6 foot. Well, he's bigger than 6'9", I'm sure.
yeah. He said
And he said he's huge. But it was a Bigfoot, and he just didn't want to say that, or he's afraid he'd lose. Oh, I like that little dog. Looks like my daughter's dog. It looks just like that. Yeah. Love them. So cute.
Thank you.
So anyway, it's kind of, I don't know what more you'd like to know about the 911 call, but
I just was fascinated. I was going to ask you. It flew 35 feet over a fence. Was there something in there about a tree?
Well, there was a tree. That's how we knew how high it was.
Okay.
He landed on the other side of the trees. I mean, he was thrown. The fence was close to where he was hit, or I think they grabbed him by his tail. He heard a big yelp.
Oh, Lord.
And then the dog went sailing over the fence and landed and reached just where it landed. And it killed him, obviously.
That's the reason it bothered me so bad. I kept picturing what would I
when dogs go chasing these things, they don't like it because they give away. And dogs, it's like chasing a bear. They won't stop. So either cower down and come back, or they stay there and get hurt or killed. Most dogs will just cower down and come back. And so I think I put a flag up on people taking dogs, because we took a dog up at camp one. I didn't, but the Johnson brothers took a dog up there once and to our Sierra camp. And so the day they died, they didn't know how that dog got out of his collar and got back in the shelter with them. But he came back in the shelter.
Some of these stories fascinate me. And I asked another guest, I forget who it was. Tex probably remembers, but I had asked them if they remembered. I think it was Daryl Denton that I asked if he remembered the story about the logs that crushed the man. And he thought when the logs started moving, because he couldn't breathe, and he said he could feel that he was bleeding, the warmth on his body, that he was bleeding out. And he said he knew his ribs were broke. One of his lungs was punctured. And he said he just laid there and just waited for death, crushed underneath these logs. And he said all of a sudden the logs started moving, and I looked, and something was looking down at me through the crack of these logs. And he said, I thought to myself, if the logs didn't kill me, these things that are looking at me right now are certainly going to kill me. They ended up two Bigfoots through the logs, two logs off of him. And then I guess the ambulance and the log people that was there cutting logs found his backpack and found that he was up there. But he said that the two Bigfoots, one of them scared him because it had a big scar. And he thought, if the logs ain't going to kill me, then the things that are watching me right now through the crack of these logs is fixing to kill me. He said it was the scariest thing you've ever seen. But they pulled the logs off of him. Well, see, stuff like that fascinates me. Have you heard any stories like that?
Oh, I hear stories all the time. I was in Portlock, Alaska, here a couple of years ago with a filming documentary, 8-part series on the killer Bigfoot, Alaska killer Bigfoot. And they took me in there for a couple episodes, I think, for a few days. And they had a story from that Portlock had been abandoned in the late 40s, early 50s when they stopped it. And they had been, I found out when they flew me in there from Homer with a helicopter, I had to, we circled it. I wanted to see the area. And you could see the old growth, then you see the newer growth from 50 years, 60 years ago. And they had over timbered it, I think. There's a lot of timbering that went on then. Of course, the trees are big now, but there's still the old growth here and there. And they were overfishing, according to the pictures I saw. And they were also mining the area. So I think they were just really taking advantage of the property and the land. And I don't think these things liked it. And a lot of reports of these things hurting people or being seen around clear cutting of timber. And I got a whole chapter of that in my last book, Bigfoot Unveiled, how I've interviewed people that didn't believe in Bigfoot till they were cutting some trees and they saw one watching them. And that's something they pride themselves on, is the trees. I think they like what this earth is, and they don't like what it's becoming with us humans messing it up.
Right.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't appreciate somebody walking with a chainsaw and saw the door off my front.
That's
right. And I'm sure that if it came out of the woods and started screaming at them or something like they would do, they'd probably shoot at it or shoot it. And that's probably what started pissing it off and it started, messing up, because they lost like 30 people out of that village before they abandoned it. And they wanted to reestablish the village because they own the property there and they're native to. They wanted to do fishing there again and just be there because it's such a good place. And they want to know my opinion. No pressure here, right? I said, I think the property has been over timbered and if you just come in and respect the area, respect what's here, and don't overdo it, you can probably be okay. But I said the best thing to do is just come in here just 3 or 4 without a camera crew and just stay as long as you can, because there's something going on there, and I would stake something on that because it's quite unique. And when I blasted the sounds the last night I was there, we got some return and interest in it. So something was there, and there's no people around. So I mean, you either get there by a 5-hour boat ride or a helicopter, one or the other. I chose the helicopter.
That's on my bucket list to go up there. I want to go up there and camp in that village and stay up there for several days and nights.
You have to get permission.
I want to go. I've never been camping ever in my life, and I'm 54.
Well, what's the matter with you?
I've just never been. We just worked, I guess you could say, my daddy worked 2 jobs. He had 5 daughters. So we had to work 2 jobs to make, keep us afloat. And there was just no time for stuff like that. The only thing closest I've got to camping is going to a church camp, with the buildings you sleep in, the bunk beds and stuff like that. But I've never been camping.
Uh-huh. Well, it's a thing to do. I've done a lot of it, and it's something to do. It's good to get out in the wilderness and see what's really going on and become one with nature. And I think these are one with nature. They want to be by one. They blend in with nature. Yeah. Where we don't, we stick out. And we're always hurting something or doing something. We're a warring species, and we do everything wrong as far as the that goes. I mean, most of us do, I should say.
Can I do
So
a little more personal, Ron, and ask you a personal question? Not about your home life, but about on the road as you've traveled and the places that you have seen and been. Have you heard of anything? How should I put this? I got to watch my wording. Anything violent that these things have done?
Well, the one I just told you about in Portlock, Alaska.
Well, I'm
yeah.
talking about like, did you arrive there to see the damage? Like, have you seen any damage yourself, like animals or anything?
Well, it's all 60, 70 years old, because it's hard to say now what was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's people like deputy sheriffs and stuff like that, and you don't never know what's real and what's not when they're showing footage on TV.
Yeah,
I've seen deputy sheriffs and things like that looking at the evidence of horses and things that had been killed. And this hasn't been but not even a year ago. And so I was just wondering if you had heard of any maybe farm animals or dogs here lately that have been hurt, or cows or.
Well, you hear about that stuff. I do. I get emails every day about different things. But I was down in land between the lakes. You know where that is, LBL.
Oh yeah.
And I was there with actually Daryl Denton and Martin Groves, and it took me to a place down there where it's all gated off now because they won't let people camp in there anymore because of the dog man. Okay, and we went there at daytime and went back at night. And anyway, it was interesting. I didn't see anything, but we heard something. And anyway, that's one thing. I was up in Northern California with Al Berry. Some miners called us, wanted us to check something out. They said they've been seeing these things, and way back in the wilderness up there in Northern California. And we went up there and we were standing around a campfire that evening. And they was talking with this and talking that, and all of a sudden this rock went sailing by us and hit this tree right close to us, and it was like an arrow going by us so fast. And that's the first time I've ever come close. Of course, if they wanted to hit you, they would. They're not trying to do that. They just want to scare you off. And they scared them off. Albert and I stayed that night, and we found the rock next morning. We chipped the tree, and really, they had been seeing these things up there. And it's the rock throwing is something they do if they don't want you close by, if they don't want you going to that area. It could be because of a young one. It could be because of whatever. I don't know, but. We've only had rocks thrown one time when one of the guys up there said he had this rock thrown over his head. He's coming in from a different direction into our camp. He was walking in. And anyway, he just went a different way. That's what you do. You don't go that way anymore. That's kind of a threatening thing. Yeah, Tex.
What's your opinion about the whole dogman phenomenon?
Yes.
Well, I got to tell you, I got way back into Bigfoot. What made them? Because I believe in UFOs. I believe in alien intervention in the genomes of different species. And they can do that to a Bigfoot, and to us too. We're created from something different. And in the image of something very special, by the way. Dogman could be the same thing. You get into the ranch in Utah, the
Skinwalker
Ranch.
Skinwalker Ranch, yeah. And yeah, they can shapeshift because energy and matter are transferable. And that's a fact for physics. If you get into quantum physics, you find out from Einstein said this, that energy and matter are transferable. And then you got Dr. Paul Dirac in 1933 won the Nobel Prize for antimatter, which is the direct exchange between matter and energy. All you need is the frequency.
Right.
And I got to say that real slow again. All you need is the right frequency, and you can change matter into energy. That's how I think miracles are done, because you got to find the frequency of anything before you can change it. And that's what we all should be striving for, is that Christ consciousness, which is in all of us. We just have to learn how to connect with it, with our chakras and everything.
So when did you, because a lot of people talk about I don't really know how to say it other than phasing in and out, like they'll walk through or into a tree.
Yeah.
What
I tell you. Let me tell you about that. Well, it goes right.
Part. I'm sorry, they'll walk through.
Well, they phase in and out, how they cloak and how they.
Oh, yes,
sometimes I've seen people see them go into trees.
Yes.
Yeah, well, matter and energy, if they are matter and they can find the frequency, they know how to find the frequency, I believe, through their vocal mechanism, because we don't know the scope of that, how high it can go. In fact, any tone, 49 octave will turn into light. And there's a lot of things that if you just start studying this, so you find out how things really work. But yeah, they can do that. If they change their matter into energy, they would disappear or appear to disappear. We only see within 430 and 770 terahertz. That's our frequency for light. Without that, we won't see. And that's why the Egyptians and the ancients always talked about the third eye. That's the pineal gland. Because it doesn't take light to see, but it has all the attributes of a regular eyeball, so they don't have the eye. don't need light. And that's what you need to delve into. And that, in my opinion, is the higher frequencies of a Christ consciousness. And if we learn
one thing that I saw that just really fascinated me, talk about frequencies, and it is the Hutchinson experiments. That old boy out of Canada that was, he levitated a bowling ball with frequency. He turned a piece of metal basically into Play-Doh. I mean, it's just fascinating. And he was from Canada, and he started doing this stuff in the 70s. And I think he's living over in California now. But if you ever get a chance, just look for the Hutchinson experiment on YouTube.
I'm not hearing him right. Something was happening to Tex's voice. It sounded like he was underwater.
But
what's his name?
His last name's Hutchinson. Let me look him up real quick.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about, because it really is frequency. Everything is energy, frequency, and vibration, according to Tesla, according to physics. Everything. We, at the most minute level, are energy, vibrating at a frequency. So if you find the frequency of anything, you can change its matter. That's Einstein. That's physics, and that's quantum physics. We live in a third density, 3D environment. That's what we are, very low on the totem pole, because there's 11 of them supposedly out there. And after 11, that things seem to fall apart, so they can only establish that 11 exists mathematically, physicists. So all these other things are out there that we just don't see. We only see within this frequency. We only, our olfactory senses only picks up certain frequencies. Everything's a frequency. And it's like a dog whistle. You don't hear the dog whistle. The dogs can hear it. A bear can smell through a can and know if he wants what's in it or not.
Right.
And it just, we can't do that. So as long as you understand your physical limitations that's been put on us, you'll realize there's more going on than what meets these eyes out here. It doesn't take, a lot of people have to have their own experience before they're ever going to believe anything outside that third density environment.
Yes, thank you. That is so true. It doesn't matter what you say, how you word it. It doesn't matter how many degrees you have under your belt. Until people go through it and see this thing for themselves, they're going to be in denial. I have found that.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard my story?
No.
Well,
I don't think I have.
Watch one of my shows and listen to my story. I've had a lot of interviews, but when you get time, do that. But I went into some kind of shock or something. And so I still can't figure out why, because I thought I had it together. I was delivering court documents and I thought I'm professional and I'm fixing to make a quick couple dollars, deliver these court documents and I'm out of here. I can go back home. That ain't the way it worked. So you need to go and watch my story. But anyways, so tell me, I see a female in a lot of your pictures on your Facebook post. Is that your daughter?
I'm not sure which one you're seeing, but I got a daughter. I got two daughters.
And I think the reason I'm asking you, I think I've seen her speak about something as far as Bigfoots.
Yeah, Rhonda, she used to go to camp with me, my daughter, my second daughter.
Her. Yeah, she used to camp with you. I heard her say that.
Yeah. I'm going to see her. I got a couple of conventions I got to speak at out in West Coast in July.
Well, she's a beautiful girl. You got a pretty daughter. I just want to let you know.
I got a couple of them. I had three of them. One of them passed away in 2020.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
She was my youngest one, 30 years old, 32. And
You
so,
stick my foot in my mouth. I'm sorry.
oh well, that's okay. I mean,
Next,
she's.
do you have any good questions for
I don't
him?
think. I don't think she's gone. She just left her body. You know.
Right.
Well,
That's
she's
all we're gonna
probably
do.
watching over you as we speak.
Or she's rebodied. You know, because if you don't learn
Yep.
something in this lifetime, you got to learn it somewhere. You got to learn it again. You have to learn. If you don't learn, and this everything's. We have all these experiences, and we're so lucky to have them. We're lucky to have the experiences we're having, whatever they are. But how you respond to them is what's you're being judged by. What governs what happens to you later on. You got to respond to everything with love and compassion. If you respond with anger or hatred or you're a victim or something like that, you're in trouble because that doesn't help your personal vibration. We have to raise our frequency, our vibration up to get out of this third density environment. If you
Right.
haven't done that in this lifetime, you're gonna have to go somewhere and learn it again, either here
Well,
or another
listen, I
planet.
hope I learn it here on Earth because I cannot stand it to be for there to be disharmony with anybody. Tex will tell you I can't stand enemies. I don't. I love everybody.
So that's good for you. Yeah, you're probably never sick either.
uh, so tell me, what is your next? I mean, you said you had some books out there, right?
I have three books. Yeah,
Three.
Yep.
Okay. Would you mind telling us about them?
I don't mind at all. Well, one of them is Voices in the Wilderness. That's my chronicle. And in fact, they're doing a document, hour long, a little over an hour, actually, a documentary on the Sierra Camp. It should be out this fall. And there's a couple others doing the same thing with my story because it's gotten to be pretty popular, really, and unique because I'm able to justify everything through a science of some type. You know, a lot of academia will stop with just what they got parameters in their head. You know, what they've been taught, and that's how we all are conditioned. But yeah, that's my first book, and it comes with a download of the sounds of certain sounds. So when I get to the context of the sound that I'm talking about, you can hear that sound. And it's then the second book is the quantum Bigfoot. That's where it took me into the quantum physics to resolve the issues of the paranormal and the woo-woo. They used to call me a woo-wooer. So
Yes,
Yeah.
I've heard that
that's a
before.
little rude, you know, but I don't care anymore because that's what happens with quantum physics. Is the rule and law that's accepted worldwide. It's that it handles the woo and the paranormal because it answers a lot of those questions we were having up there. How'd this happen? How'd that happen? How do they know this? How'd that happen? I saw a
Well,
UFO up there once and lost it
and
behind the trees.
and I say this all the time, Ron, and there's not a researcher or enthusiast, whatever you want to call us, you know, um, they go out and look for these critters or hope to have an experience worth their salt that hasn't had something that they cannot explain happen to them,
Yeah.
you know. And I've had so much stuff when I first started research. Nor wasn't the first, but I was among the first, I think, to do it, you know, real publicly and stuff. Um, like 10 years of honesty. I may be wrong. I may be talking in the thought. But, I didn't see anybody else doing it. And that was take a paranormal investigation team into the woods with me because they had more of the tools to possibly capture these strange events that were happening to us in strange communities. We caught I ain't figured this one out. Maybe you can enlighten me a little bit. We caught what everybody calls an orb,
Mhm.
thermal, but we couldn't see it with a naked. But
Right.
it was a heat signature, and it moved with intelligence.
That's energy. It's a form of intelligent energy. And yeah, a lot of people see orbs. We've seen orbs up there, but you can see it with your camera better, you know, because the camera's lens will
Right.
pick up more than our eyes will. It's up at a little higher frequency. And up at Joe Hauser's Montana Vortex and Crystal Springs, I think it is. He has a lot of those up there, and I got pictures of him. And one night walked out, and you don't see this stuff, but he's had Bigfoot sightings there too. It's a vortex. You take a camera shot and look at it, and you see the orbs in the camera. and it's not a lens problem or a piece of water or
Yeah.
bugger. You know, it's an orb. In fact, I blew one of them up and you could see a design in it. So they have an intelligence about them, I think, and they're I don't know what they're doing, spies or whatever. I don't know.
I don't know what's going on with them either, Ron. But this thing, I mean, when I walked towards it and they were filming on thermal, and I walked towards it, and it moved away from me. And when I came back, it kept the same distance away from me and moved back with me. That's moving with intelligence, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know now what they are. You know, like you said, I don't know what they are.
Well, they're just a form of energy.
Yeah. But what makes me when we caught that one on thermal and couldn't see it with the naked eye, we could only see it on thermal.
Did you see the David Paulides missing one that hunted?
Yes.
I love to watch
I got about a 15-minute section in that where we took him up to camp in 2018, and he filmed me in the camp, and I showed his videographer where a light we witnessed 2 years before went by our shelter there where we out in the tent, and they did a real good reproduction of that, and it just you don't know what to expect with that. You don't know what it's all about. You just know it's floating by you over there, and you don't know what. Here I am with a little 38 pea shooter, scare the bear off or something. Of course, not that I would have shot. If I don't shoot at things I don't understand.
Right.
I don't. I carry that because I shoot a rattlesnake up there one time, 52-inch rattlesnake. Got a hat band out of him though.
That one's got some size to him. He's, but the thought that came to me was, everybody talks about seeing these orbs, and with catching that one on the thermal that we couldn't see with the naked eye, how many of these things are floating around us every day?
Oh, I'm telling you, Tex, you would be astounded at how much is around us right now.
Okay.
Right now.
I have held this in long enough.
Because we're in our third density environment. These things even are ghosts. When they get out of this, they're in another dimension. They're some are locked in fourth dimension of time, waiting to come back or not, or they won't release themselves from that. But that's the density they're in, and it's just a different density.
Can y'all see this?
Yeah.
I did not see this last night with my naked eye. What in the mess is this thing that when I got back in the house, I went to go watch the video back, and it's just hovering right above my head, just hovering.
Really?
It's on video, and I'm like, "What in the world? This just happened last night." Well,
good.
I walked in the house and I said, "Lord have mercy, I didn't see this thing." And I got video of it and pictures, of course. And so, but I didn't see it with my naked eye. I just brought
well,
back to the house and watched it, and that's when I seen it.
What time of night was that?
Hold on. I called it Lanita immediately, and she asked me to do something, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it just to test her theory. So she said, put me on speaker, and she said, let me go with you and put me on speaker. And she said, set me down somewhere and let me talk. And I went back in the house, and then things come. I started hearing bushes crushing, and you ain't never seen a fat woman run so fast. And it sounded like wood, like something was crushing a bunch of tree limbs and all. And I took off running in the house. It scared me to death. She said, Celena, they was going to let you see them because, you asked them, can I see you? Well, I did, but I wasn't ready, I guess. But that's one thing, and I just thought I'd tell y'all, that was crazy that I didn't see it with my naked eye. But I've got the information right here. 9:09 p.m. last night.
Mm-hmm. A lot of these things happen between around 2 o'clock, between 12 and 4. That's when you heard the human resonance. It's the Earth's vibration will lower itself at night, and we lower ours at night too. When you start resting, you're going getting things off your head. And I think these things encounter more things happen during that time because of the frequency of the nighttime. That's why things happen. Seems like sightings. A guy approached me just yesterday. Had 3 sightings close to where I live right here. And he had them at 3 o'clock in the morning. He's a driver for delivering papers. And he said, I haven't been telling anybody about this. He said, but I found out you were here and I wanted to tell you because I thought you might understand. I said, I understand. we don't talk about those things either, Joe. It just don't matter anymore, you know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter to me anymore. I'll tell people just what I think, and that's it. Take it or leave it. We all have choices, you know.
We're at that age where we're just going to say what we think.
Yeah, right. Well, I just hope that what I have to say rings true to some people, and they understand how important knowing where your restrictions are as a human, because our telomeres were severed eons ago because they didn't want us to get smart like we would. Can you imagine? Well, men used to live 1,000 years, you know, and in biblical days they did even. And part of that, you're getting into the King's List, the Anunnaki, and look way back into cuneiform texts of how things really took place, and fits right in with some of the biblical stories that we've been given to by the Roman Catholics. And they started religion and out of fear and control. So a lot of religions will try to hold you in their grasp with the fear and control. And where spirituality, we all have that, and that's what we should strive for, is to get our personal vibrational frequency up. So we will transform out of this life, and then when we do die out of this body, we will be in a better place. Not have to come back and do it again.
Well, I may have to send you those videos, Ron, on your email, because at 3:09 I had just got a brand new puppy, and she needed to go outside. And this was last January, and that was the coldest night of the year in Alabama. I mean, it was so cold. I said, I think it's like 10 degrees, but it ended up being like 9 or 7, something like that in Alabama. And we don't ever get that low. Like usually it's in the 30s or 20s, you know. Anyways, and so it was so cold, and I opened the door. I couldn't see it through my glass door, but I opened the door and I let Ginger run out to go tinkle. And the next thing I know, I glance up, and right here above Gadsden State, which is right behind my house, or was behind my house, is this pulsating, humongous. It almost looked pinkish. For a minute, I thought it was the fire thing, you know, that old saying, fire in the sky. And I thought, no, it's not like a fire. This thing was pulsating and looked like something was trying to bust out of each side of it. And so I'm going to send you that video, if you'd allow me to, let you just at it. That happened at 3 something.
Send me the link to one of your story too. You know.
Yes, I sure will. That's what I'll do. Let you hear the stories from the interviews and stuff.
But,
by the way, Ron, I sent you the link to the Hutchinson effect.
Oh, thank you. Did you email me that? Was that email?
I did.
Okay, good. What email did you use?
The same one I sent you the links on for the show.
Okay. my other, I had another email, Ron M at Bigfoot Sounds, and that got hacked about 3 or 4 years ago, when I had to change emails. That has really caused me some problems. And I have a lot of.
That's no fun.
Oh, no fun on fire. I got another scap here just recently on my internet, and I had to change my bank accounts. I had to change everything. Wow. These guys, they weasel into you, you know. And boy, I had to change so many things. My credit cards, all that stuff.
Cards over and over and over. Where people's got my
compromised. It's got compromised, and yeah.
Well, Ryan, is there anything that you want to finish this show with? Tell everybody about maybe your books one more time, or what you're.
Well, my third book, which I didn't get to, is Quantum and Bigfoot Unveiled, and that's my last book. I just came out with that earlier this year, and it's doing well. But Quantum Bigfoot is the one, it's the biggest one. It's been I've had that out now for a few years, and it's been selling a lot. People want to get into how do you answer this stuff? How do trackways disappear? How does this stuff happen? Can they cloak? How does that happen? And I think I've got those scientifically answered, you know. At least it's my opinion of how science works, and that answers the question. You know, I've had so many people say they saw trackways just go stop, and till that happened to me and my daughter up there one time, and we followed the trackway, and they just stopped, and I thought, wow, now this is a story here, because you look up the tree, think, oh, they jumped in the tree. No, You look for rocks, jump on a rock. No, where'd they jump to? They didn't jump. They just stopped. Well, that's the density, because once their matter turns into energy only, there's no more density. So it won't leave a track anymore. And that's pretty much how they do it. And she had a sighting earlier that day, and we found the trackway. So
nice.
that's
Well, what do you got coming up? What do you got coming up?
I'm speaking in Paducah, Kentucky here in 2 weeks on the 15th. Okay. And then I'm going to take off to California. Actually, my daughter, one of them, is going to come out here, and we're going to drive through the States, and spend a little time vacation
that's wonderful.
in June. Then July, I've got 2 events out there on the West Coast, and one of them is a Bigfoot, which I used to go to all the time. And I'm going to talk at that one, and then I got to go to another one down in Oak Ridge the following weekend. Then I go to Pennsylvania in August, and then Louisiana in September, and just stuff like that. And do
my goodness, like I said, he travels. I knew he traveled.
Well, I thought last year I wasn't going to do it anymore because it's such a hassle to go commercial anymore. I used to have my own airplane, and I just fly to these places when I wanted to and be where I wanted to be when I wanted to be there. Anymore, it ain't like that when you go to commercially. It's just a pain in the butt, to be honest with you.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's worth it when I get there. I love to do this. I love to talk to people and tell them what I think I know and what I do know. And I've been into Peru, Bolivia. Those are my eye openers down there. That really tells me there's something else that's been here, and something else is here now. We're being visited by aliens, and they're all going to expose themselves here one of these days. And we're going to have a big unveiling. Bigfoot, now the government acknowledges them. They're feeding us just what they think we can handle.
Exactly.
That's all they're giving us. They won't give us the Bigfoot thing yet because they can't explain it. They can't explain it. I'm explaining it. But and you've got all this evidence out there, and they won't acknowledge it. Well, you got 2 puppies.
Oh well, I've got 3, but the other one is, I think, behind me on the bed.
Oh well.
But this is my Ginger. She's the rescue that I was taking outside when all this happened in the sky. And then my sighting, the only sighting I've ever had, my encounter, was when I was delivering court documents a little after 7 a.m. in the morning. So that's all I've ever seen as far as that kind of stuff. So anything that I see that's not quite right, that I don't understand, I learned from listening to all y'all. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate you.
I do the same thing.
I appreciate you giving me. I'm so honored to have you here. Thank you.
Well, thank you. When you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you rot. And you got to keep your head, this conditioned brain up on our shoulders. You got to keep it in tune with your heart, because your heart is where all the information is going to come from, the gut feeling. And I got a chapter of that in my new book too. It's important to listen to your heart. The thing is, your brain up here has been conditioned so much by outside factors that you've been told since you're little that this is right and that's wrong, and But you got to learn to get out of that box. It's like a parachute. It's only going to work if it opens.
That's true.
And I think those are good things to say at the end.
Well, you get some rest.
Ron, I'm going to say thank you first, and then I'm going to let Celena wrap her own show up. But Ron, it's good talking to you again. Like I said, I hadn't seen you since the Fort Worth conference with Josh Turner, and it's been catching up with you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Daryl Denton. We're starting a broadcast in a few weeks.
Nice.
Pretty soon we're getting it all set up now. So he's already he just let the word out. We got 80 something subscribers already, and I think you have to have 100 or something like that to get rolling with it.
Well,
there's a couple of rules. Yeah.
It's going to be 2 TWO real.
He gave me
2 real cryptid legends.
Oh, okay.
2 real
cryptid legends.
Yeah.
I like it.
He's seen Dogman, and I've seen Bigfoot. And I seen Elvis the same year. Actually, I did. I seen Elvis in '74. That's the same year I saw Bigfoot.
Well, I'm just
I'll drop the link to your podcast and
Well, thank you.
in
Yeah.
the
If we get some more
description.
subscribers, we'll be on a roll here.
Well, we're fixed to go. I'm gonna subscribe myself when I get off here.
Yep. Same
Good.
here.
So, but Ron, thank you again. We're gonna let you get some rest. And Tex has worked all day, and I'll be honest with you, I'm still going. I never stopped with 3 puppies. But anyways,
Well, my site is ronmorehead.com, and that's where people can get the books. You can order them on that site, or they come as a download. And so the CDs, I got 2 CDs, and they're all downloadable. So they can either download them or order the paperback on the books.
All right.
all right,
I'll drop all those links in the description and
Real Cryptid Legends. Everybody go subscribe.
pay some more bills.
Well,
Well,
thank
Ron,
you for
again,
having me.
thank you. I appreciate you coming on, brother.
Tex, good seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming to Southern Belle Bigfoot, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Come back and see us.
We'll see y'all later. Y'all have a good week.